Afternoon, everyone. What a glorious day for renaming and building dedication. We do not let thunderstorms or inclement weather stop us. I'm Monica Pierre. I'm the Executive Director of Community Engagement with Jefferson Parish Public School System. I will be your MC for today. Thank you all for coming. As we gather, we'd like to bring to the podium Superintendent Dr. James Meza with opening remarks. Dr. Meza?
Well, thank you, Monica. Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize to Ray about the weather, and he says it never rains on a football field. So I know it's a good day for Ray and for all of us who are here today to honor him as we name this facility after his name. But let me welcome you. In particular, I'd like to welcome Ray St. Pierre and his family that are here today to join us, members of our board who are behind me, our Jefferson Parish administration, all the Ehret alumni and former players that are out there today, our community leaders who are here to support Ray. Ray, we're all here to honor you today. It's a special day for you. It was just a few months ago that I had the opportunity to see some of Ehret's great success this year, and coming on a Friday night in the stadium, and I would see the Ehret team enter the field, and I'd see Ray there, and I'd talk to him and barely talk to him because there were so many other people that came to say, "Hello, Ray, how are you?" He knew everyone by the first name. A little bit into the game, he'd move in and he would start to tell Coach Lambert a little bit what plays he should call. Particularly after, one of them did not go as planned, and so Ray was involved every step of the way. I kept watching him for several games and for several years since I've been in Jefferson Parish, and I just said to myself, there's got to be a way to recognize a person who means so much to our high school, who actually lives and breathes every coach, every player, every fan who comes there and he can relate to. It was an amazing experience that I had. So I went to a few of the board members and I said, I don't know what the law says, but we as an organization should dedicate something to Ray St. Pierre. He is so special to John Ehret. And it was Mike DeLesta, and I was having a conversation with Mike DeLesta, and he says, well, come up with an idea. And we did our research, and we did. And we talked to Ray to get his permission, and we offered him the idea of naming the athletic complex after him. And we're so pleased to honor him today. He's been a student, an educator, a school board member, and a friend of so many people. His impact reaches beyond the classroom, the playing field, and the school board. He's loved and respected by his family, his former students, and all who had the pleasure to be in his presence. His impact has been immeasurable over the course of his stellar career. Mr. St. Pierre began his career with the Jefferson Parish Public School System as a math teacher. I want to say that again, as a math teacher and coach. And he was a junior varsity coach at his alma mater, West Jefferson High School. He also served as a varsity football defensive coordinator for both West Jeff and Ehret High School, and head coach at Ehret High School. During his tenure as defensive coordinator, the school won the state championship in 1981 in the first Superdome Classic. As head coach of Ehret for 3 seasons, his record was 32-4 with the state championship in 1985. I think we have some of those players here. Who was on that 1985 championship team? Anybody here? I thought some gentleman came up to me.
Some of the early guys.
After teaching at Ehret for 17 years, he became the dean of students at Helen Cox and then was appointed as assistant principal at Truman Middle School. He was elected to the board in 1998, and he is presently serving in his 16th year on the board. Ray St. Pierre was board president at a very, very historical time in Jefferson Parish, and that was the year of Hurricane Katrina. He is the proud product of our schools. He had attended Ames Elementary, Ehret High School, and graduating from West Jefferson. Today's dedication is more than renaming of an athletic complex. It's about honoring a life well lived as a teacher, as a coach, as a leader, as a mentor, and as a friend. Ray, you inspire all of us to seize our teachable moments, to serve with dignity, to stand through life's adversities, and to live a lasting legacy. Congratulations from all of us, Ray.
Thank you, Dr. Meza, for those remarks. At this time, I'd like to call up Board President Mike DeLestinier, who will introduce board members present, as well as make brief remarks.
Good afternoon. I have the privilege to speak today, and at first I'd like to introduce the board members who are here today. Mr. Jacobs is standing right there to the side, Mr. Cedric Floyd, Mr. Larry Dale, and Dr. Adel, and of course Ray St. Pierre. Mr. Tovary said he was on his way, and I'm sure that Mr. Morgan and Mr. Napoles-Bossard would be here if they could. I'm going to make a few brief remarks, but I'm going to let Dr. Lashardi kind of clean it up, who has probably the best and most intimate knowledge of Mr. St. Pierre. But I want to just say that as I walked in and I passed that 4-foot state championship statue with a little bit younger Ray St. Pierre's photograph next to it, you remember, that we are not just, honoring Ray St. Pierre, but we're naming and emulating an individual who we would want our kids to follow and emulate. And very rarely in our lifetimes, we have an opportunity to make an incredible historical remark. However, we can all make our marks on history as we contribute to those institutions that we belong to that make us great. And so I believe that not only in naming this building after Mr. St. Pierre, it helps emulate what he's done in his self-service for all of us to follow in the future. And I just have a great honor and privilege that Dr. Meza brought this to us, to be able to honor someone who's dedicated so much to our children and our parish. So I'm happy to be here to honor Mr. St. Pierre today, and I'd like to bring Dr. Lashardi up for a few brief remarks.
Thanks, Mike. This is my 10th year on the school board, but I've known Ray since the early 70s when we were both 10. When I got to know Ray first, he wasn't just the coach, but he was the algebra teacher. And I'm going to tell you, he could teach algebra to rocks and claims to have done at least a dozen of those rocks. And I'm not going to include his wife in that rock segment, but it was through his efforts as a devoted spouse that he did get one Joy St. Pierre through college algebra, and then had to insist to University of New Orleans that it was already taken and it was their marriage that was at risk if she had to take it again. That's a true story. As a board member, Ray and I have gone to functions together for which both of our spouses are quite happy that they don't have to attend. We'll go with each other. And I don't care where it is or what we're doing. There's always somebody that goes, "Hey, coach, hey, coach." We were on an airplane going to Canada, and from the front seat, here was, "Hey, coach." And it was one of his championship ball team players. Ray is known as coach to not just former ball players, but many of us. I know I often say, "Hey, coach." Now coach was mentioned by Dr. Meza as being a mentor, which I consider him a mentor of mine, but he's also a friend when you need a friend. And, when you need your butt kicked, he's going to do that as well. And I'm saying no matter who you are, he's going to give you the advice you need at the time. When we lost Ray to an administrative post, the biggest problem with that is he could go on to do, other important things, but we lost the wonderful math teacher. But given the opportunity, he'll still give you a math lesson in a New York second. Many of you know Ray, and some of you were aware that when they lost John, they didn't just lose John, but they established a scholarship program that would help many young people get through school. And I've also been in his company when young people have come up and say to Ray, "Hey, Coach, I got my degree because of this scholarship." This was before TOPS was available to all the students in Louisiana who made decent grades. But it was a competitive scholarship, and it made way for many important individuals to get that education. Ray is a devoted husband. Oh, he was such a wonderful son to his mom, and a good father, and his family is here today, his grandchildren, his daughters-in-law, and his loving wife and sister-in-law and great-nephew. And it all is a testament to how much he means to all of us. So if you're ever in his company, I guarantee you what you're going to hear without much time lapse is, "Hey, Coach." The most recent event that he and I attended was a gala for the community. And there was a young man who was the police officer on duty. And Ray bid him goodbye because that was one of his former football players. And before you know it, we had a shadow walking behind us to make sure we got to our cars safe. So I'm telling you, there are all kinds of unexpected advantages to being a good friend of Ray St. Pierre. I could not let this time go past without saying to Dr. Meza, thank you for coming up with this observation and naming this building for my good friend, Ray St. Pierre.
Thank you, Dr. Licciardi and Mr. DeLestinier. At this time, we will hear remarks from the principal of this fine school, Principal Maria Landry.
Good afternoon. Yes, we could not control the weather, but we have always learned to adapt. On behalf of all of the staff and students of John Ehret High School, I welcome all of you. The preparations for this event began several weeks ago, and I can't go without thanking a large number of people, starting with Miss Pierre and Miss Sharon Thomas, who's back there working owns the technology department. Sharon Hunter, I'm so sorry. Band director, which we would have had today had we had good weather, Miss Matthews. We would have had cheerleaders. That didn't happen because of the weather, and majorettes. Miss Marchese, our Pro Start teacher, has made her students have made the cake. Plaques and photos that are being refurbished in the hallway, thanks to Ms. Strohmeyer with her help from Ms. Brazier, and school collage by Ms. Strohmeyer and Melanie Tran. Our athletic director, Sheena Smith, and all that it entails. We were going to have a softball game and a baseball game, and we were going to have the track in full gear. And of course, our head coach, Coach Lambert, for just whenever we called, he came running and helping. Coach Frazang, and all the student athletes. Gary Hazelwood and all of our custodial staff. Thanks to Billy North, who was longtime head coach at John Ehret, Manny Baracco, and Charlie Ocello for all of the sprucing up you will see in progress. A special thanks to Dr. Meza for the insight to honor Mr. St. Pierre, and A special thanks to Ms. Westmoreland, and I'll explain why she is to be thanked in just a few minutes. This date was chosen because we wanted the whole athletic complex and facility in action, which didn't happen. This building is the hub of a myriad of activities. Today, there would have been a district baseball game, softball game on the fields that surround the area. The gym is not available because of major work that's taking place. When I became an administrator here about 10 years ago, these fields did not exist. This building did not have many of the amenities that you see now, and other and equipment that was necessary for the safety and well-being of our athletes. Mr. St. Pierre had a vision of what this building and land could be. His commitment to making it a place for students to stay physically active has gotten us to the place we are today. On most school days and many weekends, this complex is filled with students actively engaged in sports activities. This happens because of the commitment of our coaches. Mr. St. Pierre is the role model our coaches strive to emulate. Someone once told me that the best teachers in the world are coaches. Who else can motivate students to subject their bodies to the physicality of their sport and then keep coming back for more? It is important to note that Coach St. Pierre has not been an official member of the John Ehret staff since 1995. Yet most weeks, especially during football season, he is on this campus. It is usually to assist with football, but I have learned that he is just a phone call away. His commitment to John Ehret is remarkable and constant. I do believe it is a true labor of love. I often joke with him that he bleeds red, white, and blue. And in every sense of the word, he is a true patriot. After the unveiling, well, I don't know if we'll be outside, everyone is invited to go see if there was a baseball game, but the facilities as they exist now, it is a remarkably different place than it was 10 years. Much of that thanks goes to Mr. St. Pierre's tenacity to make a wonderful place for our community and our students. And the fields are wonderful and they are in constant use, and that's a credit to all of us who believe that this is a very, very important component of education. So thank you, Mr. St. Pierre. And I will turn it back to Ms. Pierre.
Thank you, Principal Landry. I'd also like to recognize Board Member Pat Tovry, who's joined us. Thank you. Well, there are a lot of things that did not happen as planned, but what did happen was the love that so many people have for you today, Mr. St. Pierre, that they are braving the elements, braving water to show you how much you have meant and mean to them. So if you would not mind, would you please make a few remarks today?
One thing real quick,
Oh, okay.
I forgot to do.
Okay.
It's my mistake. We do have a very special gift for Mr. St. Pierre, and we're thanking Ms. Adel Westmoreland. Our art department has been very instrumental in helping us, and she has sketched a portrait of Mr. St. Pierre. Back in his coaching days.
Wow, I look around. I'm thinking about Elton Lagasse the other night. Did y'all know he got roasted the other night? He got roasted at a function, and I walked in there, and he said, "Hey, look, I came in late the other night, and I turned my TV on, and he heard Mike DeLesseneer, our board president, praising me and saying good things, and then he listened to a few other people, and he called Yvonne into the room. He said, 'What happened? Did Ray die?'" You had to have come in late, to be able to have realized that, and so and that's what I told Dr. Meza when this idea first came up. I said, "Wait a minute, man." I said, "I'm not dead yet. This is. I think you got to be dead for this to happen." And he said, "I don't know. I'm gonna look into it." And by gosh, he did, and what have you. Before I go anywhere any further, Joyce.
Think of something funny. That was a
Okay.
good story. Okay.
My wife, Joyce, 54 years. 54 years. I don't know how she took it. I don't know how she stood it. I'm looking over here, I see Billy Duplessis, and Billy was on our first coaching staff here. It was me, Jesse, Billy, and Stubbs, huh? And Stubbs, and then Kenny Farrow and Gary Swess were the freshman coaches. And I just think about the amount of time that we put into all the work that we did and what have you. I don't know. Don't sit down. Get up here. I don't know how she put up with me during that time. And of course there are a lot of things or jokes about what we did. We worked tirelessly at that particular time, but it was just this would never have happened if I didn't have this lady right here next to me that whole time.
Thank you, that's sweet.
Okay. All right. Okay, now I'm not going to say much more until I get the rest of the immediate family up here. David's here. David, come up.
And Colin, Stacy.
All right. And Stacy, Colin, and Brett. So the introduction is basically this. David is my oldest son, and David was a sophomore on the first team we had here in '77. We didn't have a whole lot of respect because we didn't have many seniors, none on the first team that we got here, zero, none. And we won some football games. I don't know how. I don't know how we did it. I don't know if it had some players there somewheres, but somewheres it must have been something about the head coach, Jesse Daigle, and the rest of the people that we had here. I just don't know why it happened, but I do know that at that time, during '77, after that year, the '78 team had many times saying the next year is going to be payback year. We had 3 football teams that put a bad whooping on us when we were just juniors. And we paid back all 3, did we? We got them. We got all 3 back in '78. And I think that's where the family situation got involved in this particular event for us here at the school. All right, and then, of course, Stacy is my daughter-in-law, Mark's wife, and Stacy and Mark gave us, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go first with Samantha. Because David gave us Samantha, all right? And Samantha was across the lake today because they were supposed to play softball also. And she couldn't take the chance of coming here and it not rain across the lake and them and her miss her game. And she wasn't going to do that because you make a commitment when you're going to go on a team. You're going to be there for practice. You're going to be there for every game. You're going to be there for everything. Unless your parents die, I guess. No, we know that's not going to happen right now. But anyway, Samantha plays softball, quite a softball player too. Joy Gambian, is she here? Joy's back there. Joy made a catcher out of Samantha. I'm telling you, it was a good choice too, wasn't it? Yeah, it was good. Sam has become a good catcher and an A+ student. All right, now we're going to talk about Mark's children and Stacy. Stacy was Stacy's parents, and you're not going to believe this. Stacy's parents and I and we opened a bingo hall one time, right here on the West Bank. Of course, it's eventually closed after about 3 or 4 years. I'm good for shutting things down. You know how that goes. But anyway, and that's how Mark and Stacy met at that time. And they gave us our 2 other grandchildren. I'm going to start with Colin. Step up here a little bit, Colin. Colin is a senior this year, and so is Samantha. They're about 4 or 5 months apart, something like that. But Colin is a senior and had a great year this year as a soccer player, and we're very proud of him. And he's an excellent student as well. And our soccer all-star, not our volleyball all-star, Britton plays on a travel volleyball team, and they're quite good. They play all over the South, huh? Where was the last time you were where?
Texas.
Texas. They went to Texas. They go to Florida. They go to different places. But anyway, and they win when they do. So Britton is in the 9th grade, and that's my 3 grandchildren, and I'm very proud of them and my family. All right, Dave said, can I go? The only one that can't go is Joyce. She's going to stay right here.
Joyce is going to stay right here.
You know, we built something that was, I think, very great in these first 10 years that we were here. You do know I was not the first head coach here. Jesse Daigle was. And Jesse and I were both on the staff at West Jefferson High School. I was for the 4 previous years, Jesse longer than that. And he and I both applied to be the head coach at Ehret High School with the agreement that whichever guy got it, the other guy was going with him. And so Jesse got the job, and I came with him. And I don't know whether that was a good thing or not, but it just turned out to be great. And I think what we did in those years, it kind of reminds you of some of the things that were instilled. That '78 football team, I think now, through those 10 years, was a strain of something that went through all of the kids that came here. It was still here in 1980, wasn't it, Kenneth? It was still here then. That was after the '78 season. And then it went to '81. We should have won a state championship in 1980. The best football team we had here, defensive side. In '81, we had the best offensive team that we ever had here, and a lackluster type defense, and we won the state championship. So what did they tell you? They tell you what? Defense wins championships? Not all the time.